Alright, good morning Wasteland. Mr. G bringing myself some coffee, you some Crossout, and today we're going to talk about one of the most effective series of weapons in the game and the most simple. We're talking about Junkbows, Fafnirs, and Nidhoggs today. Step number one, or rule number one, do not confuse these with shotguns. They are not shotguns, although they play similarly. They are not a heat-based weapon, they are a reload-based weapon like cannons, meaning that either the hot red, the colossus, or the oppressor are going to be your friends. So we're going to talk about basic ways that you use these builds and how they function. Now, my last build here was sideways, so let's go ahead and put that back to regular controls. You're going to see Junkbows a lot at low power scores because they're simply an extremely effective weapon that any player can use. You're going to want to be in something fast because the main goal with Junkbows is to strip your enemy's weapons, and you're going to just be making passes at your enemy. And that's your goal in this, is not to just stay in and fight because it's a reload based weapon. You're going to need that time for your guns to reload and to get to bear on target. All three of these weapons are going to play similarly, except the Junkbow you're going to be able to run at lower power scores, and you're going to want at least two of these. So start saving money. It's a great first weapon to try out for new players. As you can see, this build only comes in at a power score of 2,839. Another way you're going to see Junkbows is you're going to see them used three, and you're going to see them on a wedge. Because the wedge is one of the most classic designs in Crossout. You're going to play it the exact same way though, in that you're going to be going by the enemy and you're going to be making passes, stripping those weapons, and trying to flip them over. You can also go for the underside if you think you can get yourself the fuel tank, although you're not really going to want to stop with these. You're not going to want to flip someone over and then just wait around. You're going to just want to shoot, flip, strip, and keep moving in these things. So for example, I wish we could summon a little more higher power score bots. You're going to go right for those weapons, or with a little tiny bot like that, you're going to one-shot because they have just ridiculous burst damage. Now, one of the ways that they were nerfed in the last few patches was by accuracy, because it's so easy to strip weapons off with these, especially when you get into close range. Now, the Junkbow itself, it doesn't have a perk because it's just a blue weapon, but you can see there its biggest stat is damage and its worst stat is range, and that's exactly how you play these things. You play them up close and you do burst damage. Now the next thing we're going to talk about here is we're going to talk about the Fafnir. It's exactly like the Junkbow. You can take a look at the stats there, but the perk changes how you play it. The higher the card's speed, the more accurate the weapons will become, with maximum accuracy achieved at 60 kilometers per hour, meaning that Fafnirs pair really nicely with the oppressor, because the faster you go, the faster you're going to reload. So you're going to notice that you also see these builds in broadside. It's one of the less conventional ways to use them. Most people are going to put them on a wedge, but as it is something you're going to want to be circling around the enemy and removing their weapons, you might find yourself using the broadside if you want to try something a little bit different, because you're going to want to be constantly moving in these things. So there you go, you've got yourself a Fafnir wedge as well. It's going to play exactly like we did with the Junkbows, in that you're going to want to be going decently fast so that you can get that perk bonus to accuracy, and that's what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to make passes, turn around, and then strip another weapon or their second weapon on the second pass. Hopefully, if you're doing it right, you will be taking out one weapon with at least your first or your second pass. Now, last on the list for these is the Nidhogg, which is just a straight up upgrade from the Fafnir, although it has a much bigger hitbox than either the Junkbow or the Fafnir. However, this is its perk. The faster you're going, the quicker you are going to reload, with a max efficiency of 20%. These weapons would also pair nicely with the Echo Cab, because you could get that instant reload. One other thing I forgot to mention is you're going to want to go ahead and use Cloak with these, because you're going to want to get close to your enemy so that you're going to be able to strip those weapons off when you're making that first pass. One other thing you're going to want to remember is co-drivers. You're not going to want to put in Bulldog because Bulldog is only for shotguns. And remember, these are not shotguns. You're going to want, which one is it? It's not this one. It's not, is it Misty? There it is. You're going to want to put in Misty if you've got that one unlocked because it does Junkbow, Fafnir, and Nidhogg damage bonus of 5%. And the last thing I put in here is we put in a giant broadside Nidhogg build because this just looks hilarious. Maybe we'd do a video on it. You can also pair it with the Torero because you'll get that accuracy bonus, which makes it a decent cab to pair with this as well. That's it for this one, though. I think we're going to do a shotgun guide next because that just makes sense. But as far as classes of weapons go, these are one of the easiest ones to use. If you haven't tried Junkbows or Fafnirs, I highly recommend them. A lot of people really love the Nidhoggs, but to me personally, they don't feel that much better than either the Fafnir, or obviously they do more damage than the Junkbow, but you don't really feel like you're gaining that much going to the Nidhogg for a legendary weapon. And it does look like they are working on a relic version of this, although that won't matter for 99% of you guys because you'll never be able to afford it. Let me know what you thought about this guide. It was a shorty, and which guide you want to see next. We've done cannons, we've done machine guns, and now we've done all the Junkbows. Hope you guys found this useful. If you did, hit that like button and share in the comments your tips for these weapons. I'm going to catch you guys later. We're doing the jump in this thing. Mr. G out.